Welcome back. Week 5 predictions. You guys know the deal. There's no shocker here. We're joined yet again by Amir Stewart as the feedback's been great about your appearance here on the show. Go ahead and say what's up.
Let's go, man. I'm ready. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go undefeated this week. And let's
Yeah,
get it, man. I'm glad
we
to be
both
back.
both killed it last week, as we'll get into here in a second. But as you see last week, I was 13-3. Amir, you'll have to give your record here in a moment. But on the season, I mean, I'm guessing the game's at 72%. So if this is your first time here on the podcast, I at least know a little bit something of what I'm talking about. But what was your record last week, Amir?
Actually, so last week I ended up going 11-5. And man, I was upset, especially because of that Bears game. Fields look good, they look good, and I should have finished at 12-4, but it's unfortunate. And so far this season, my total record is 43-21.
43-21. So we're right there. I mean, last week that basically is the difference between what our record is. As again, we're both over, or if not over, we're close to 70% on the season. So without further ado, though, we're going to get into the teams that are on bye this week. So of course we have the Chargers, who started off 0-2. They got a much-needed win against the Vikings, and then of course won back-to-back weeks last week. They go into their bye week. I'm going to ask you a question here in a moment, but the Browns, after starting 2-1, they lost last week. Of course, a lot of things were not in our favor as a Browns fan, as DTR is clearly not ready for the field. But then you also have teams like the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Seattle Seahawks, my number 9 and 10th ranked teams in the NFL, according to my last Tuesday's video. So the Seahawks, most notably, they're on a 3-game win streak. The Tampa Bay Bucks, they were 2-1, and then they got a much-needed win last week. Out of all 4 of these teams, who do you think needs a bye week more? Who do you think they need this reset more out of these 4 teams?
Out of these 4 teams, man, it has to be the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers are one of the most loaded rosters in the league, and this team still can't figure it out defensively. And despite the injuries, which are unfortunate, man, they still got to figure something out.
Yeah, they just made a big trade. They just traded J.C. Jackson back to New England after giving him a bag, and I guess the secondary. I mean, weirdly enough, after trading talented players, either offensively or defensively, the teams get better. So we'll have to see if that wears off on the Chargers, or their defense might even get worse. I guess we'll have to see here. But those are the teams that are on bye this week. Moving over to Thursday night, which of course is tonight. The Bears at 0-4. They have the number 1 and 2 picks in this upcoming draft as of right now. So a lot of questions there. And then the Commanders at 2-2 after starting off 2-0. They need a much needed win here. Who do you have on Thursday night?
I got the Commanders here. But I would not be surprised if the Bears get their first win right here. But honestly, I think Fields is going to get pressured a lot this game. I think the Commanders are going to try to blitz him early on, try to force turnovers early, and try to control the pace of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brian Robinson has a huge day here. And defensively, I mean, this is maybe I'll get your opinion on this. In my opinion, it's the most talented defensive line in football, with Montez Sweat and Chase Young on the edges. Then you have Deron Payne and John Allen in the middle. Do you think this is the best defensive line in football? I've been saying it for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, this D-line is crazy. And what's scary about it is, you can't just double team one person each time. You know what I mean? Because then, at least one-on-one matchups and two-way goals for the rest of the D-line. So, you kind of have to pick your poison with this D-line.
Now, I just mentioned I messed up the graphic, of course, at the top. If you're not looking at the logos, it is Chicago at Washington tonight, not at Tampa Bay. I must have messed up there. But the Bears, if they fall to 0-5 this week, do you start thinking about maybe sitting Justin Fields to go after Caleb Williams? I know it's a crazy question, but you have a guy like Justin Fields who is struggling to process the field this year. And even despite having a really good game last week, this team's still going to get the job done. So if they go to 0-5, they practically don't have a shot at the playoffs at that point. Would you consider starting to sit or wanting to trade Justin Fields to tank and get maybe even Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if I'm the Bears right now, I mean, you're 0-4. You have no shot of even, making any type of noise or any chance, as much as tanking is kind of frowned upon and like shamed upon, man, the Bears have no chance. They're better off trading Fields, trying to pair up, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison and just reset and start from the jump.
I mean, some people think Caleb Williams is the most talented quarterback prospect of all time. which is kind of
Oh,
crazy that
truly.
we have a guy like Victor Wembanyama in the NBA with he got that title, and then now Caleb Williams might be coming in as maybe the greatest prospect ever.
It's
Um,
evolution, man. It's ridiculous.
and absolutely, and they're only going to get better. In 10 years from now, we'll see a 6'7" quarterback that's running a 4.2. But
Right.
yeah, we're both going to take the Commanders here on Thursday night as they should improve to 3-2 and get a much needed win there for Sam Howell. But moving over to London, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars that got a win in their secondary home last week against the Atlanta Falcons, and they come into this matchup needing a much needed win here to, I guess, get to where we all thought they would be prior to the season, and that is a contender. The Bills, on the other hand, they are rolling. 3 straight wins. They look like the dominant Bills we've known for years. It's,
Yep.
in my opinion, they're a top 5 team here in the NFL. Who do you have in London as Jacksonville? Can they go 2-0 in London this year?
Yeah, man. Buffalo's easily a top five team. Especially last week, man. Last week kind of boosted their confidence. They are rolling. Josh Allen is starting to look like Josh Allen. Man, this defense is legit, man. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle. I think Buffalo is going to just overwhelm him and just take control of this game and win this.
Yeah, I think I talked about it on Tuesday where the Bills over their last 3 games, I think they're outscoring their opponents 128 to 20 or to 33. So almost a 100-point difference in their last 3 games compared to the points that they put up to their opponents. So they've been dominant over these last 3 weeks, and it's hard to go against them right now. So I hate to go against Jacksonville because I had them rated higher than Buffalo prior to the year, but 4 weeks in, Buffalo is the real deal, at least for the regular season side of things. And I'm going to take Buffalo here as well. But any last thoughts here about this game?
No, I think Buffalo's going to win this, without question. Um, the one concern, though, Trey White being out, that might hinder, Buffalo's pass defense on the outside a little bit. But, I don't think it's altered enough to really change the outcome of this game.
Absolutely. So Jags, they fall to 2-3. There's going to be a lot of questions there as far as can they even win that division. But moving over here to the Sunday slate of games, we have the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. I mean, if this was the game in 2011, we're all glued to our TVs because, of course, that would have been Drew Brees and Tom Brady. But the Saints at 2-2 here with a really, really good defense, but a lot of questions at the quarterback position. And the same can be said there for the New England Patriots, as they have Mac Jones, who he got benched late in that game last week. Whether that's going to carry over into this week where Bailey Zapp gets more playing time, that is to be determined. But quick thoughts on this matchup, and who do you have in this matchup that 2 teams that need a win?
I was going to go with the Patriots here. This is a game that could, that's kind of iffy. Can kind of go 50-50. But the biggest concern is Carr. You could tell Carr's kind of still nursing that injury, nursing his shoulder, and it's affecting him greatly. But the biggest problem with, the Patriots is that, the injuries in their secondary, but now, they pick up J.C. Jackson. He already knows the system. He knows the Patriot way. He's going to come in and have a great day in this reunion back in New England.
And you're going to take New England at home here?
Yep, I'm taking New England at home.
That's tough. That's tough because I when I was looking at it, I thought you were going to go with the Saints because the Patriots, they've played Jalen Hurts and they've played Tua really, really tough there. And they've really limited those quarterbacks at home here early in the year. And with Derek Carr coming off the injury, I think you touched on it there. I do also want to take the Patriots here as Mac Jones can survive another week at the quarterback position. But the Saints, I can definitely see them coming out and winning this game. I would definitely be interested to see if a guy like Chris Olave has a bounce back week, but he's also going to be matched up with a guy like J.C. Jackson or Christian Gonzalez. So Patriots got even better defensively, and I agree with you here. I do think New England gets a win here.
Gonzalez has actually got announced, he's done for the season. So
you're right. You're right. I did I did forget about that, but so that also makes more sense why they went and traded for an All-Pro corner, at least level corner there in J.C. Jackson. But again, despite the injury to the rookie there, Christian Gonzalez. But I do want to ask you this here as coming into the draft, we never got your take on it. Who was your favorite cornerback? Was it Devin Witherspoon or was it a guy like Christian Gonzalez? As I preferred Witherspoon, but I think I was wrong.
Honestly, no, my favorite was Gonzalez. And, me playing corner, you can just see, all the talent. He was easily the most polished, the most NFL ready, in my opinion. I mean, the kid is a technician from top to bottom. The footwork is on point. Doesn't panic when he's in phase. He's great at finishing the ball. He has great ball skills. Doesn't really have any weaknesses in this game.
Absolutely. But moving over to Tennessee at Indianapolis, as it's a big game here in the AFC South early in the year. The Tennessee Titans at 2-2, still a lot of questions there to figure out, but they're 500. And then the Colts, on the other hand, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was back last week, and he looked, like he has all season. He looks like the rookie of the year. I guess that's an argument there with CJ Stroud, but as a Gators fan, I'm happy to see Anthony Richardson striving. And this week, they may get Jonathan Taylor back in football. And I want to just throw this out there. Let's not forget the player that Jonathan Taylor is, as that guy is a top 5 level running back when he's healthy and available, and he's not arguing with the owner. Let's just not forget the type of player he is. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but if he does, easily Indianapolis here for me. But regardless of that fact, given the quarterback situation there in Tennessee, I'm going to take Indianapolis here relatively easily over the Tennessee Titans.
It's crazy because I'm going the opposite of you. I'm going to Tennessee right here. I was honestly surprised to see Tennessee was actually favored in this game too, by the major sports books. Tennessee's strong point, has been their run defense at times. I don't see, this Colts offense getting going, especially after last week. I think Tennessee's going to barely squeak it out.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. With the pressure, the talent they have, they should be winning, but it's just it's like Mike Vrabel just watches. And I saw Nick Wright say this, but he said that Mike Vrabel just goes back and watches a random 2001 Patriots game and picks the game plan up from that game, and he wants to use it each and every week. But I can definitely see the Tennessee Titans winning this game and Derrick Henry having that game, because it seems like he always does against the Colts. But I will stick here with the Gator and Anthony Richardson. Baltimore at Pittsburgh, another huge divisional matchup here. Of course, a matchup there in the AFC North, Kenny Pickett, the biggest story of this game, as he suffered possibly a season-ending injury last week late in the game. So maybe we see Mitch Trubisky, but I think that's the most likely scenario here in this game for the Steelers. But then they have the number 8 Baltimore Ravens coming to town. The Ravens picked up a much-needed win last week, as it wasn't an impressive win. I don't think we learned much from the Ravens last week, but they took care of their business. They can't really control who is in front of them, but they got the win, and they're 3-1. I think they continue to roll here. No shocker, as Mitch Trubisky, he could put up a fight in the first half, but the Ravens pull away.
Yeah, I think the Ravens pull away here. I think it's kind of, self-explanatory. As elite as Pittsburgh's defense, has looked, I think Baltimore's going to completely dominate this game.
Absolutely. There's not really much analysis, especially after Kenny Pickett goes down. Any chance we see Najee Harris take a step up in his play, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think Baltimore's going to run a lot of man-to-man, load the box up, force Trubisky to throw and drive down the field. They're pretty much going to dare him to, beat them with his arm, which is not going to happen in my opinion.
Yeah, and it also helps when you have the second coming of Ray Lewis there in Roquan Smith. Carolina at Detroit. Carolina's 0-4. Not a lot has went right for them this year, but the playoffs wasn't in the cards for them this year. At least if you ask me, it was more so just about a developmental year for both Frank Reich and, of course, Bryce Young. Bryce Young has only played 2 games so far in this season, and he should this week it's not going to get easier. I'll say that, as he's playing the Detroit Lions, a top 5 level defense, the number 4 overall team in my opinion, and Detroit has looked really, really good so far this season. I think there's no question. It's another developmental week, as Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson, a guy who looks like an all-pro level edge this year. They're going to get after Bryce Young, and they're going to make him uncomfortable. Give me Detroit easily here at home, as Carolina falls to 0-5.
Yeah, you just touched on it. I think Detroit wins this game. The biggest struggle that's been for the Lions has been their pass rush outside of Hutch. But I think this game, the whole entire D-line gets involved. They overwhelm Bryce Young. They're obviously going to send a lot of pressure, because the stats say it. Bryce Young has been struggling under pressure, so I think Detroit wins this game easily.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. You just touched on it there with he's struggling under pressure, which is, we didn't see that in Alabama. Alabama, he was so quick and efficient with his short passes. and he hasn't done that. Granted, it's his rookie year, and it's a completely different game at the professional level. But also, Detroit has the best rush defense in the NFL as of now. So Carolina, I mean, they're going to need a historic performance from somebody in that offense to get something going. But what do you think? Maybe an Adam Thielen 300-yard game?
Man, Adam Thielen needs to hang the cleats up, man.
That's an easy way to put it. The Houston Texans, a young, fun, and high-powered offense. They're facing Atlanta here, another young team, but they're a slow-paced, old-style fashion of down your mouth offense. And this is just a clash of styles here in this game. To me, I want to get your early opinion on this. Who do you have in this matchup as Houston's rolling and Atlanta needs a win?
This game is honestly interesting. I was looking at this game, analyzing it, breaking it down. But honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with the Texans here. I think Stroud has an amazing game right here. I think he kind of keeps on building on to his case of being, offensive rookie of the year. And the only way Atlanta can really win this game is if they get the run game going early. But if the Texans can shut this run game down off rip, and not let Robinson get going, Atlanta pretty much has no way to move the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, CJ Stroud, 3 straight games with 280 plus yards through the air, as well as 2 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. He hasn't turned the ball over yet, a month into the NFL season. And I think there's some stats out there. I don't have exactly pulled up in front of me, but no quarterback in NFL history has had a better start to their career than CJ Stroud, other than Cam Newton. But as far as protecting the ball, no quarterback in NFL history has had a better start to their career than CJ Stroud. So that's a high praise there for Stroud. And I'm not sure who you had as the best quarterback coming into this year, but is CJ Stroud, in your opinion, now the best quarterback in this class?
Yeah, easily. He's like the most polished, the most comfortable. He easily transitioned the best. It was crazy. Everybody all thought, Ohio State quarterbacks don't translate. Stroud's gonna, he's gonna fold under pressure. The Texans are gonna ruin his career. But man, he surprised everybody. Like, he's coming in looking like a vet off rip.
Absolutely, but I will agree with you here. I do think I'm going to have the Texans. I think A.J. Terrell shuts Nico Collins down like he should, but that's only going to open up a game for another Tank Dell. It's going to open up another Tank Dell game here for C.J. Stroud, and I'm sure we're going to get to see that dance a couple times. It also doesn't help I don't like Arthur Smith whatsoever, but I'm going to take the Texans here on the road as well. The Giants here at 1-3, they go to Miami to face the 3-1 Dolphins. The Dolphins, they were humbled, is an easy way to put it, last week against the Buffalo Bills, as after dropping 70 points in a 60-minute game against the Broncos, they go to Buffalo and they drop 6 points in the last 45 minutes of that game. It's the Buffalo here, or not Buffalo, but Miami. They're looking for a bounce-back game. We're still looking for that Jalen Waddle game, and I think it comes here. I think Jalen Waddle is going to have a touchdown or 2 against the Giants, and the Giants simply can't protect anybody, let alone Daniel Jones, which is making Daniel Jones look like the most overpaid quarterback in the league right now. I'm going to take Miami here relatively easily, as I'm not sure when Ramsey's coming back, but I'm sure if not this week, then next week.
I'm taking Miami by 100.
By 100, I mean, great analysis there, but I mean, that's really.
Honestly, the Giants have been, honestly, probably by far the most underwhelming team, this year. They went ahead and paid Daniel Jones. Saquon had, the holdout. He wanted to get paid. He ended up getting hurt. The O-line is looking even worse than last year. They can't block a parked car. I think they got the last rated pass offense, passing attack in this league.
I'm gonna doubt it,
man. And that's it, man.
Yeah, with Miami here at home, easily, like you said, by 100. Cincinnati is going to Arizona, and I think maybe the most interesting matchup this week is, on paper, Cincy should clear. Cincy should win this by 50, as one team is actually trying to win games and the other is not. It's safe to say. But I think this is a now or never week for the Cincinnati Bengals, as something is clearly wrong with Joe Burrow, as he hasn't thrown a touchdown in 3 of the first 4 games the Bengals have had. He clearly shouldn't be on the football field right now, and that's coming from one of the biggest Burrow advocates out there. But they're 1-3. They need to win on the road, and Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals have looked electric at times, even though they're 1-3. Who do you have in this matchup? Do you think the Cardinals finally realize, hey, we need to start losing more games because of the Bears? Or do you think the Cardinals look at it like, well, that's not our problem. That's more of a management problem as far as tanking?
No, I mean, well, you could easily tell, before the season started, the Cardinals were in tank mode. I mean, they made some questionable trades. They went ahead and sat down Kyler Murray, and I think they're still, in this tanking race. I mean, Caleb Williams is too talented for them to pass up. It's kind of different when it comes to the Bears. They have Justin Fields. They're trying their best to kind of work with them. Try to squeeze that potential out of him. But the Cardinals are in like complete panic mode. So I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I think the Cardinals are, going to try their hardest even more to even tank. And that's
I hate to continue to pick the same as you. I think we've only differed on one of these so far, but the Bengals, for the sole fact that they were my Super Bowl favorites, I am hoping out a little bit of hope that they can turn this around. And with that being said here, sorry for the pop-up, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals in a get-right game, but it's going to look a lot like that Week 3 game against the Rams where they squeaked by with a win. It was very ugly, but I think that's going to happen yet again here for the Bengals on the road. But any last thoughts about this game here?
No, I think the Bengals win this game. The Cardinals might make it tough on them a little bit, but I think the Bengals, win this game pretty convincingly.
Because they should win the game, but I guess that's been the story all year for the Bengals. The Philadelphia Eagles, as in my opinion, the number 2 team in the league, they're one of the only 2 unbeaten teams left in the NFL. They go to play the Los Angeles Rams. There is a little bit of questions around the organization. Is Cooper Kupp available to play this week? That is going to be an interesting question. But again, I don't know the health of Matthew Stafford coming into this game. Last week, he put on another Matthew Stafford level game where he got hurt, but he still played he still led the Rams to a win on a 2-minute drive there late in typical Stafford fashion. But the Eagles here, still the most complete team in football, in my opinion. They're 4-0. They haven't looked pretty at all times, but they're still getting the job done. I mean, that the goal of football is to win, and they're doing that at a perfection level. I think even on the road here, it could be an interesting game, and we'll talk about that later. I think the Rams can make this interesting, but I think the Eagles will pull away with a win in this game in overtime.
Yeah, this was a potential upset game of the week for me. I was kind of leaning towards the Rams, but I mean, this Eagles team is just too stacked. It's honestly kind of crazy. Hurts hasn't been playing, up to his MVP status like he was trying to push for last year. And, this team is still 4-0, still has been winning, pretty convincingly. The defense is obviously still stacked. The run game is going, Swift is going. And, this Rams defense, I think statistically they're ranked, top 3 in the league. So
Aaron Donald's amazing. Sorry,
right? Yeah, Aaron Donald's amazing. So you should expect for Swift to get going this game, for them to feed him early on, kind of open up the pass game later on.
How many tush pushes do you think we're going to see this game?
Might see a lot.
Might see 13. Just keep doing it all the way down the field. Honestly, that might even work. Can you imagine if they added that into Madden? I mean, you could probably just run that all the way down the field and clock out an entire half.
Oh yeah, I mean seriously, dude's gonna be clocking out for quarters.
just grab the Eagles and just every single play. But yeah, we're both taking.
Honestly, man, that play has to get looked into. Like, it's no way that thing is that dominant.
Do you think
I've never seen in my whole entire football career? I have never seen a play this dominant ever.
I guess I'll ask you that though, since we're already on the topic. Do you think it's a football play, or do you think, like other people have said, do you think it's a rugby play? Do you think it should be allowed in the NFL? Is my question to you.
Yeah, I mean, it should be allowed. It's not like it's anything that's like dirty or anything that's just like completely, just like against the rules. The Eagles are just, it's just no way to go against it. Can't really argue against it.
Like Jason Kelce said, it's organized mass, and I think the thing that people are forgetting when it comes to that play. These are grown men. These are the 1% of the 1% of athletes that are playing football. If you can't get a group of guys to stop a play like that, like that's just grown man strength right there. Right. When it comes to, and I get it. The offense has an advantage there because they know the snap count. But, man, I think, I don't know. I'll put it this way, man. Put Aaron Donald in the front of that group with some other good defensive linemen like Myles Garrett. I don't know. Like, maybe I think it's stoppable is the way I'm getting at here, or is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But moving over here, I believe, yes, we have one of the games of the week, of course. The New York Jets here at 1-3 after almost coming back and beating the Chiefs last week. They're 1-3. They've lost 3 straight. They need a win here, and they're playing the Denver Broncos, who they got a much-needed win last week to go to 1-3. Do you think that was the turning point for Denver? Do you think that they can improve to 2-3 here at home, or do you think Zach Wilson he finally turned the page last week in that second half, and he's actually could be their guy going forward?
I think, the good thing I'm seeing about the Jets, there's ways to measure stats. There's ways to measure, complete this play by the eye test. But the one thing you can't measure is culture. And I think the Jets culture is shifting. I think, Wilson is maturing. He's taking ownership, realizing that he has to be the guy to step up and, buy time for Rodgers to get back. And actually, I had the Jets coming in and winning this game. I think Wilson's going to have a big game. I wouldn't be surprised to see, Surtain to kind of travel Garrett Wilson. So, I'm expecting Lazard to step up and have a huge game. Breece Hall to have a big game as well, too.
I didn't even mention this, but of course, this is the matchup between, I guess this is the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game because Sean Payton, of course, was, he said a lot of, I guess, not so friendly things against Nathaniel Hackett this offseason, saying that it was the worst head coaching job he's ever seen here in the NFL. And Nathaniel Hackett is, of course, the offensive coordinator for the Jets. It just kind of sucks that we don't get to see Aaron Rodgers in this matchup. But I'm actually going to differ from you. I think the only second time that we've done that this video, I'm going to differ from you. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos at home as both of these teams are terrible. So I'm going to roll with the home team in the Mile High advantage. And I think Russell Wilson, I'm going to hope that he can outduel a Zach Wilson and he can actually win this game for the Broncos to improve to 2-3. I'm just going to take the head coaching and the quarterback advantage in this one. I guess that's a question. Is that a question? Is Zach Wilson and Russell Wilson, is that a discussion? As far as who's better?
Man, it truly is a discussion, man.
You think so? To me, honestly, I think I would still take Russ in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I still take Russ, just for the simple fact that, he's a seasoned vet. In the better system, he definitely still strive. And the thing about Zach Wilson, Zach Wilson's mental has been his biggest struggle. He's by far one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. As far as arm strength, accuracy, all that stuff, it's his mental, not being able to pick up coverages, panicking under pressure, and all those things.
Okay, just to clear this up here, are you taking the Jets? You're taking the Jets here on the road?
No, I'm taking the Jets on the road here.
I will differ. I will take the Broncos at home as we move over to one of the biggest games of the week, maybe the game of the week. That's, of course, in discussion with Sunday Night Football. But the Kansas City Chiefs here, who are a top 3 team, in my opinion, they go to Minnesota. Minnesota got a much-needed win last week. It wasn't pretty at all times, but they got it done. And now they have the Chiefs coming into town. The Chiefs are 3-1. They didn't look pretty last week, but they got the job done late in that game against the Jets. Who do you have in this matchup? It could be a blowout or it could be a very high-scoring game.
I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Kirk Cousins and his offense has looked insane, but what's been holding them back is that defense, man. The defense is absolutely atrocious. And, this is honestly a bad matchup, for the Vikings. Kansas City's defense is looking better and better week by week. Minnesota's defense is looking terrible. Both offenses are elite. And so I'm going to go with the team with the better and more convincing defense, which is Kansas City. I think, Mahomes is going to have a monster game throwing for 400 yards. Expect Kelsey to have, a reminder game of why he's the best tight end in the league as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you here for all the reasons you said. But my question to you is, will Taylor Swift be in Minnesota?
And of course, he's going to be in Minnesota. And then, we're going to miss out on touchdown celebrations and the actual game because they're going to be putting it on Taylor Swift every 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we could be seeing like touchdown breakdowns of why certain things worked. But don't worry, Taylor Swift is there eating some popcorn in Minnesota. But I'm also going to take Kansas City here for all the reasons that you stated. But it kind of sucks, though, that the Vikings, they're already going to have more losses throughout 5 weeks of this season than they did all of last regular season. So kind of crazy. But moving over here to Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys at 3-1. Of course, they're not at full strength, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. They go to San Fran to take on, in my opinion, the number 1 team in football for the last three or so weeks in the Niners. And the Niners, they have a new wide receiver 1 in town there, Brandon Ayuk. if it wasn't in question before, it's definitely official now. As Deebo Samuel had 3 carries for 6 yards as a leading wide receiver last week. Absolutely insane. And then George Kittle only had 1 target. And somehow this Niners team won on the back of Christian McCaffrey. Who do you have in the biggest game of the week here? For both of these teams, it's their first true big test.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Niners here. Man, just like everything you just said, man, this Niners team is legit. You know, we've been seeing, Kittle and Deebo Samuel, kind of be inconsistent at times, not making much noise. And this team has still been, just convincingly beating teams, man. Their QB1, Purdy, doesn't even have to have a monster game. And this defense is turning the ball over. This pass rush is getting home. And, man, this run game is just absolutely dominating every team they face.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy is underrated to say the least. I mean, he was Mr. Underrated last year, came in, he didn't lose I saw a stat that said he hasn't lost a game that he's completed. From start to finish, if he was healthy, he has not lost a game yet. And, of course, you can include that Eagles game, but I don't include that Eagles game because he was playing on his left arm. So from a game that he started and he was healthy, he has not lost a game yet, including the postseason. So Brock Purdy's been amazing.
The biggest thing that's been, impressive, this man has not turned the ball over, man. Like, this dude is
I was just going to get at that, yeah.
The ball. He's been extremely accurate. I think he's, throwing around 71 or 72% this year. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, highest passer rating in the league. And if you want to dive deeper into the analytics, I saw that he was #1 in EPA. So Brock Purdy is doing it all, from regular statistics to on-the-field performance to advanced statistics. And he's not even the most talented player on this team. You still have McCaffrey, Kittle, Deebo at times, I guess you want to throw him out there, Brandon Ayuk, and then, of course, that very talented defense. And we didn't even mention the best offensive lineman in football in Trent Williams. I think until we see Brock Purdy lose a regular season game, I'm gonna take the Niners until they lose a game. Again, it also helps that they're the #1 team in football. But my guess, I think I've asked you this before, but do you think who do you think is the best player on that Niners defense? As I'm willing to have that argument with people, but do you think that it's Fred Warner or do you think it's Nick Bosa? It's just a random question I want to throw out there for you. And then on top of that, who is the best defensive player in this game, in your opinion?
Honestly, I mean, the best defensive player on that defense, in my opinion, is, Fred Warner. From what we've been seeing,
Thank you. That's what I think. I think Fred Warner's best player on that defense.
Yeah, the biggest struggle, for Bosa is that, he's been eating double teams the whole year. And it's been helping them as a team, but hurting him personally. He hasn't been able to get home. I think he only has 1 sack this year so far. But the rest of the D line is getting home, creating pressure, creating opportunities for the defense. But Fred Warner is, probably, the best, off-ball linebacker in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then who do you think is the best defensive player in the game? I guess that would narrow it down to Micah Parsons and Fred Warner. Who do you have in that one? I think that one's kind of self-explanatory, but go ahead.
In my opinion, I think it's Micah Parsons.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Just his versatility and his dominance, it does wonders. But Dallas is coming into this matchup. Of course, they don't have their best corner, but do you think they have a chance in this game against the Niners? Obviously it's a historic rivalry here, but the Niners have also beat this team the last 2 years in the playoffs. Do you think they continue to whoop on the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, man, I think.
Or I guess I'll ask you this: or do you think it'll be a close game? Is my question. Do you think it'll be a blowout or a close game? As we both have the Niners in this one.
It's tough for me to say because, man, the Cowboys are a roller coaster ride. This team goes from looking elite, possibly a top 3 defense, top 3 team. They're matching up against a Niners team that's stacked from top to bottom, well coached, well disciplined. Makes minimal mistakes. And in my honest opinion, I think the Niners are going to dominate this game from start to finish. You can expect their time possession to be, pretty high this game. McCaffrey's going to get going. They're pretty much going to take their time and drive down the field slowly every single drive.
Absolutely. I have no doubt here. I think game of the week, but we're both taking the Niners.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you there in dominating fashion. And closing off the week, of course, we're going to have Monday Night Football, the Packers going to the Raiders. A fun fact, if you guys didn't know, this is a rematch of Super Bowl I. as Bart Starr and them got the job done against the Raiders. But here, I guess 58 years later, Jordan Love and the Packers are looking to pick up their first road win on the season, and they're playing a Las Vegas team that I think they're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo back. At least we would assume so. Josh Jacobs had his first good game of the year last year, and I guess it's a Devontae Adams revenge game, I guess is a way to put it. Who do you have in this matchup here as both teams trying to get back on track?
I was going to take the Packers here. This game is kind of another 50-50 game. I think Jordan Love is going to have a big game here. I haven't been, extremely high on Jordan Love just yet. Just because, he's still early. He's still kind of proving himself. But yeah, man, the Raiders obviously have been struggling on offense. I think they're like the worst rushing team, in the league. So, you can expect for the Packers, going a lot of three front this week and pretty much try to force throws, force the Raiders to throw the ball this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna roll with the best quarterback in football. I'm gonna take Jordan Love here on the road. I think he's gonna get his first road win on the season, and I mean, self-explanatory. I think if there was gonna be a Christian Watson week, I think this could be that week where he gets back on track. But again, he'll be matched up with Marcus Peters, so I don't know if that's gonna happen. Regardless, I think Jordan Love wins this game pretty easily on the road, and the Packers continue to make this division interesting there with the Lions. But any last thoughts about this week in general before we get to the hot takes?
I mean, this week, is going to be interesting. I think it'll kind of say a lot about the AFC, as we go into this week 5. Kansas City obviously, has been looking legit. We'll be able to kind of get a basis on, Kansas City, Miami, and the Bills, and who is going to be the favorite, coming week to week.
I think that's a really interesting take. I think, after we exit the first month of the year, we really get to start to narrow down the field to see who should be the favorites going to the remainder of the season. But now we shift to the hot takes, and I'll start this one off. We wanted to add to this podcast, and it was your idea, so I want to give you your credit. Potential upset teams of the week. And then we also wanted to add just an overall hot take on the week. So I'll start this by saying potential upset of the week, in my opinion, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I'm going to take the LA Rams to upset the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's with or without Cooper Kupp in that game. As we talked about it earlier, the Eagles, they haven't looked the sharpest this year, and they're still winning games. But I think if Matthew Stafford, as he's banged up right now, and we don't know if he's going to be at 100%, but that's never stopped Stafford before. And who knows? Maybe the Eagles can, play down to their competition, and Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, alongside Puka Nacua and Aaron Donald, can get this win on the road. So potential upset of the week. Watch out for the Rams. But my number one was going to be the team you're going to go into here.
Yeah. So for my potential upset of the week, this game can either go really bad for Minnesota or really, really good. Like I said before, I think this is going to be a shootout. And that's kind of why I was leaning towards this being a potential upset. And, man, this Vikings offense has looked legit. They've been throwing the ball and moving the ball with ease no matter who they're playing against. And so, this game is really going to come down to who turns the ball over, one more time, who wins the turnover battle. And this game could literally go either way, man. We should expect a game similar to, them playing against the Chargers. Both QBs are going to throw for 400 plus. Justin Jefferson is going to have a monster game. Kelsey's going to have a monster game. And that's why I'm leaning towards Minnesota on a potential upset.
Absolutely. Do you think Addison can actually get a catch this week?
Honestly, I think he might be able to, man. Finally.
I mean, Addison's definitely let me down this year, but especially for my fantasy teams, he's hasn't been the greatest. But our hot takes on the week. Do you want to kick this one off, or do you want me to go ahead?
I'll kick it off. For my hot take, I'm going for Zach Wilson to throw for 350 this week. As crazy as that might sound, I'm going for Zach Wilson to throw for 350 and just to go on a mile high and win this game. The Broncos have been terrible in their pass defense this year so far. So you should expect a big game from Garrett Wilson and Lazard this week.
You think Garrett Wilson has a pretty good week there against the best corner in the game?
I think he potentially can. And if they end up traveling, Sertan around to guard him. Lazard's going to get, activated, going to get going. And I see Zach Wilson having a monster game this week.
I should have asked you this earlier, but as a cornerback yourself, I want to ask you this: do you think that this Jets and Broncos game features the best two cornerbacks in the game? I'm just going to throw that question out there and go ahead and let you answer.
Yeah, I mean,
Of course I'm
I
talking
think it'll
about Sauce
definitely.
Gardner and Pat Surtain here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sertan's the best corner in the league by far. He's the most consistent. That dude is probably the most entertaining for me to watch. Outside of Ramsey, just because Ramsey brings so much versatility. Um, you know, this is going to be an interesting matchup, man. We should expect to see a lot of advanced metrics comparing those two, and this will kind of push the media for them to kind of push the narrative of who's a better corner.
So do you think it features the best two corners in the game, or do you think Gardner's not there yet?
Honestly, I think Gardner's top five. I wouldn't say top two just yet.
And that's where I'm
Um,
at.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially because the Jets do a great job of kind of putting him in great positions, putting him in zone coverage, so he won't get exposed too much. And, I'm still pushing the top five. I wouldn't say top two just yet.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm exactly there with you. I think it's far and away number one is set in stone, and then you kind of have a teardrop there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But my hot take on the week here is that on Sunday Night Football, I don't, I do think it'll be a blowout. However, if it's like a 30-13 game or whatever the case may be, I think both Brandon Ayuk, the number one wide receiver there in San Fran, and Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys, I think both of these guys, and this is an extremely hot take. If I get this right, I might as well play the lottery. I think both of these guys score 2 touchdowns this week. Brandon Ayuk, of course, he's done that once this season before. And Jake Ferguson leads the NFL in red zone targets, at least at the tight end position. I think both these guys find their way into the end zone, and I guess both have really good weeks. But any last thoughts about, or I guess any thoughts about my hot take there?
I mean, it's a hot take for a reason. It's hot. It's risky. But I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, and just to clarify, Amir's Vikings pick there for potential upset of the week, and my Rams pick does not combat with our predictions prior to these slides here, as these are just potential upsets to look out for this week. And if we had to pick one team to upset, that would be that. So these won't count against our record if we're right or wrong. And our hot takes are just hot takes. We're just trying to throw something out there to, I guess, root for this weekend. Aside from, I guess the Browns are off this week. But that is going to do it for today's episode. Another great week in the books. Amir, thank you for coming out. Any last thoughts before we get out of here today?
Nah, man, I'll be back next week, man. I love being here. I love talking ball. This is my passion. I love being here. And make sure, keep showing support to this guy's channel. He's been grinding, putting out great content for you guys.
Yeah, 4 videos a week, if you guys didn't know at this point. And if you've made it to this point, obviously you like listening at some degree. So support us down below. Help us on the road to 1,000 subs, and help me quit my day job is what I'm getting at. But that is going to do it for today's show. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some fantasy football content. And then going into the weekend, good luck to your teams, your fantasy teams. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. As Amir, I'm not sure if you know this, but next week is the 1-year anniversary of this channel. So I don't know if that's Tuesday or Thursday, but regardless, I'll maybe see if we can get you and Bakari on an episode here.
Let's go, man. I'm all for it, man. Let's get it.
Until then, stay happy, stay healthy. We're out of here.